I always sort of felt sort of alone navigating the waters around like diaspora and identity. You know, I grew up, was born in Queens, and then brought up slowly, made our way through like Ridgewood, and then ended up in Bushwick. And so I think that Bushwick came at a pivotal time, sort of like that, like late elementary all the way through graduating high school, right? So this really pivotal time. And I also grew up with an older brother who was sort of like the one who raised me, and also just like an immigrant kid. He wasn't documented for most of until like his 20s, and you know, because my parents had to work, right? Like no papers, you know, just trying to hustle and like feed us, and like trying to get immigration is expensive, so it's just like a lot. And then send money back to the family, like they would have to hustle hard, and also like not knowing English and all the other things, right? So my brother really had to take care of me, and it was like, you know, we would often joke because we have an estranged relationship now, but when I was younger, you know, I really looked up to him, and we would often joke that it was like a kid raising a kid.
What is that?
When I first went to high school in the Lower East Side, that's where I became politicized. One of the first identities I really grasped me, or one of the first identities that I felt called towards was the identity of an organizer. I originally went to a Mikasa meeting in January of 2020 where there was like this white environmental justice organizer who came and told us about the North Brooklyn pipeline. And then folks were just like, what? It's the first time I'm hearing about this. And then folks started to like start to hit the streets from like January 2020 through March 2020. I'm organizing Mikasa, organizing Frack out of Brooklyn. We shut down pipeline construction sites, and like we're hosting different events, and it's just like a lot of energy. And then I think January 2021, one of the co-organizers in both groups reached out to me randomly one night. I still remember it, and was just like, hey, Mayday Space is going to be hiring and this was at the time a director. And so I remember seeing that message and was like, this is wild, like, you know. And so to have that, I was like, you know, it would be not wise of me to have sort of like followed through with it. And so I did. I applied. Being able to organize and then be staff member at Mayday Space was really important to me because, you know, it's located within Bushwick, and the Bushwick that I grew up in, and a Bushwick that's been heavily, heavily, heavily gentrified, to the point where I think some folks can't imagine a Bushwick before, you know, which is so wild to me because I could just vividly remember the Bushwick before that. Like if you tagged all 5 boroughs, you were known as All City. So sometimes I joke and I'm like, you know, I'm All City. You know what I mean? Like, grew up in Bushwick, family in Queens, living in the Bronx. Who knows where I'll be, right? But in the future, right? But it's also like you can't like have anyone take away New York City when you grew up here. You know what I mean? You kind of like become New York, and so that's where like what home means to me.